Yeah, I was asked by President Biden and their team to go DJ for that summit dinner with all the leaders of the world. But it was the same night of Britney's wedding, and then I'm like,
You know what's rare in Hollywood? Real friendships that actually last. You ever notice how everyone swears that they know what really happened between Paris Hilton, Britney Spears, and Nicole Richie? The friendships, the fallout, and the alleged drama? Turns out, not so much. Paris has finally been speaking up about both relationships, and her version cuts through years of tabloid noise. This is what actually went down, what changed, and where things stand now. The drama you forgot about. Okay, before we get into what Paris just said, we need to talk about the elephant in the room. Because Paris's friendships with Britney, Nicole, and Lindsay, they've been through absolute war. And I'm not being dramatic here. These relationships have publicly imploded, been resurrected, and tested in ways most friendships would never survive. Let's start with Nicole, because that falling out was brutal. Paris and Nicole had been best friends since they were literally 2 years old. They grew up together, became global superstars together on The Simple Life, and then around 2005, everything fell apart. And I mean everything. The breaking point came when Paris hosted Saturday Night Live without inviting Nicole. Now, you might think that's not a big deal, but the reaction was reportedly so harsh that it triggered a complete friendship breakup. Paris actually went public and announced their friendship was over. Can you imagine? After being besties for over 2 decades, Paris formally declared they were done. That's not just a fight. That's a full-blown divorce. The media absolutely loved it. Tabloids in the 2000s thrived on pitting women against each other, and Paris and Nicole were the perfect targets. Every magazine ran stories about their feud, creating this toxic narrative that these two couldn't be in the same room. And here's the worst part. Back then, there was no social media. No Instagram stories to set the record straight. No Twitter to say, that's not what happened. They had no way to use their own voices to combat the lies and exaggerations. The feud lasted years. They didn't speak. They didn't film together. People genuinely thought their friendship was dead and buried. It wasn't until around 2010 that they reconciled enough to work together again. But even then, the question remained. Was it real or just for the cameras? Now, let's talk about Lindsay, because that situation was somehow even messier. Paris and Lindsay's friendship went completely off the rails starting around 2006. We're talking about serious bad blood here. Lindsay literally called Paris the C-word, and Paris responded by calling Lindsay a pathological liar in a 2018 interview. These weren't subtle jabs, these were full nuclear attacks. There were reports of physical altercations, a drink-throwing incident that became legendary gossip. Paris made jabs about a necklace theft situation involving Lindsay. The media ate it up, constantly creating stories about their rivalry, making it impossible for either of them to move on. And here's what's wild. This wasn't just teen drama that fizzled out quickly. This feud lasted for years. We're talking over a decade of public animosity, shade-throwing, and mutual dislike. Every time they were asked about each other in interviews, it got uncomfortable. Every time they were at the same event, people watched to see if they'd interact or avoid each other. There seemed to be a narrative that Lindsay was jealous of Paris and Britney, that Paris looked down on Lindsay, and that there was this constant competition for relevance and attention. And honestly, some of it was probably true. They were young, famous, constantly compared to each other, and dealing with massive personal issues while the world watched and judged. Then there's Britney. Now, Britney and Paris never had a massive public falling out like the others. But that doesn't mean their friendship hasn't been tested. Britney's conservatorship from 2008 to 2021 was one of the darkest periods in celebrity history. She was essentially isolated from many of the people who cared about her. During those 13 years, maintaining any friendship with Britney was complicated. The conservatorship controlled who she could see, talk to, or what she could do. Even people who loved her struggled to stay connected. And while Paris was vocal in supporting the Free Britney movement and stood by her publicly, the reality is that conservatorship created barriers that affected all of Britney's relationships. Fast forward to 2025, and we're now hearing reports that Britney has gone radio silent on family members. She's not returning texts or calls from relatives. There have been incidents that made headlines, appearing unsteady at restaurants, leaving venues with drinks in hand, cryptic and emotional Instagram posts that have fans genuinely worried about her well-being. Her Christmas post seemed to take sarcastic jabs at her family, writing about "my beautiful family who have never disrespected me," in a tone that was clearly dripping with irony and pain. The woman has been through trauma that most people can't even comprehend, and she's processing it all in real time while the world watches and judges. So when Paris speaks about these friendships now, you have to understand the weight of what she's addressing. These aren't just celebrity friendships that drifted apart because people got busy. These are relationships that faced public feuds, name-calling, years of not speaking, conservatorships, family drama, media manipulation, and the kind of scrutiny that would destroy most bonds. The Britney connection. Let's start with the friendship that defined an era. Remember those iconic mid-2000s photos of Paris and Britney taking over Hollywood nightclubs? Yeah, those weren't just for the cameras. These two have been ride or die for over 2 decades. And Paris just gave us a rare glimpse into what that friendship looks like today. At the WWD Style Awards in Santa Monica just days ago, Paris addressed the elephant in the room that everyone's been whispering about, how Britney's really doing. And her answer was simple but powerful. She's doing good. She's doing really good. Now, you might be thinking, that's what everyone says, right? But here's the thing. Paris isn't everyone. She's actually been there, showing up when it counts. Unlike the fair-weather friends who disappeared when things got tough, Paris has been a constant in Britney's life through everything. The proof? Just last month in December, Paris and Britney had a reunion that was honestly touching. Britney visited Paris at her home and spent serious quality time with her 2 kids, Phoenix and London, who are both 2 years old. And we're not talking about a quick hello and goodbye. Britney shared on Instagram that she bonded intensely with little Phoenix, holding him for hours while Paris was totally cool with it. Britney gushed about the experience, praising Paris as a mother and saying, "Most moms get weird and uncomfortable when someone else takes pleasure in bonding with their kids. But not Paris. She let Britney have that moment, that connection." Britney even joked that the nanny was probably offended because she took over the room for 6 hours straight. That's real friendship, folks. That's not performative social media posts or staged paparazzi photos. That's letting your friend feel love and connection when she needs it most. But here's what really gets me. This reunion happened around Britney's 44th birthday on December 2nd. Paris made sure to be there for her friend on a day that could have been lonely or difficult. Why Paris's support actually matters. You have to understand the context here. Britney's been through absolute hell. The conservatorship, the family drama, the constant public scrutiny. And through all of it, Paris has been vocal in her support. She was one of the loudest voices backing the Free Britney movement that helped end Britney's 13-year conservatorship in 2021. When Britney got married to Sam Asghari in 2022, Paris was one of the few celebrities actually invited. And get this, she turned down a DJ gig for President Joe Biden to be there. Let that sink in. She chose her friend's wedding over a presidential event. That tells you everything you need to know about priorities. Paris has consistently called Britney one of the kindest people in the world and emphasized how rare their friendship is in Hollywood. Back in 2022, she told reporters that Britney is not like any of the people in this town, and that she means a lot to her. When Britney released her memoir, The Woman in Me, in 2023, Paris was right there supporting her. She praised her friend publicly, saying she knew how hard it is to write a memoir because you have to really dive deep into difficult memories. Paris had just released her own memoir, Paris, the Memoir, in March 2023. So she understood the emotional toll firsthand, the real tea. Now let's get into what everyone's actually worried about: Britney's well-being. Her Instagram has had fans on edge for a while now. The dancing videos, the cryptic captions, the emotional posts about her family. Add in reports claiming she's gone quiet with relatives and headlines about concerning public moments, and people started sounding alarms. There were stories that made the rounds. Reports of her seeming unsteady at a restaurant in Thousand Oaks. Claims of erratic driving. A Christmas post that read sweet on the surface, but felt very pointed if you knew the backstory. All of it fed the narrative that something wasn't right. But this is where Paris Hilton's perspective matters. Paris isn't watching Britney through Instagram like the rest of us. She's actually spending time with her. And according to Paris, Britney is doing really well. In August 2024, Paris shared on Talk Shop Live that Britney loves visiting her kids, especially her son, Phoenix. She talked about how natural and happy Britney is around them, saying she just genuinely loves children. Paris even revealed that Phoenix calls her Auntie Britney, which says a lot. This isn't performative celebrity friendship. This is real, private connection. While the internet speculates, Paris shows up, and that difference matters. The Nicole Richie bond. Okay, but can we talk about the friendship that's even longer? Paris and Nicole Richie have known each other for over 4 decades now, and their bond has survived everything from reality TV fame to public feuds to becoming moms themselves. And guess what? They just reunited on screen in the biggest way possible with their Peacock special, Paris and Nicole, the Encore, which dropped on December 12th, 2024. It's a 3-part series celebrating the 20th anniversary of The Simple Life, and honestly, it's everything fans could have hoped for. How the reunion actually happened. Here's what's cool about this reunion. It wasn't some studio executive's idea or a desperate cash grab. It happened organically. Nicole revealed that she was texting with Paris over Christmas break last year, and Paris mentioned it was about to be the 20-year anniversary of The Simple Life. Nicole texted back, "Should we do something? The LOLs." They gave it time to marinate, and it just felt right. Both of them had been approached so many times over the years with different concepts for reboots or reunions, but they always said no. The timing had never been perfect, until now. Paris explained to W Magazine that they came up with this all on our own, and it is such a fun concept. No one has ever done anything like it before. And she's not exaggerating. What they decided to do was absolutely wild. The Sanasa Para. Remember Sanasa? That bizarre, nonsensical vocal riff from The Simple Life that somehow became iconic. Well, Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie decided to turn that into a full-blown opera. An actual one, complete with professional singers and composers. Paris summed it up perfectly in the opening episode, saying it was so random it felt right, and very on-brand for them to dive into a world they knew absolutely nothing about. Nicole agreed, pointing out that this was always the appeal of the simple life. Watching them stumble through unfamiliar situations was the whole joke. The special follows their attempt to create what they call the Sanasapara. They had exactly one tune, no score, no opera background. Nicole joked that operas usually take 5 years to produce, and they somehow pulled it together in 3 weeks, declaring themselves so talented with obvious sarcasm. But the most emotional moments come when they return to Altus, Arkansas, where the original show was filmed 20 years ago. They reconnected with locals, revisited Sonic Drive-In, and were met not with resentment, but warmth. Nostalgia, growth, and friendship carried the whole thing. The work behind the friendship. When Paris and Nicole talk about working together on the Encore, you can hear the genuine affection. Nicole told Harper's Bazaar that the collaborative process was incredibly seamless. Paris said the most formative memory was being back on the road with my best friend and seeing the joy on people's faces while we were filming. There's this moment in the 3rd episode right before they perform their opera at the Saban Theater in Beverly Hills that's absolutely perfect. They're strapped into harnesses, about to be lifted into the air for their grand entrance, and they clasp hands. Nicole looks at Paris with complete sincerity and says, "I love you. This is fun." Paris replies, "Celebrating 20 years, boo." They embrace and just stare at each other with pure adoration. Paris later told Rolling Stone, "I'll never forget that moment. That was really special. It was very emotional. We both looked at each other and knew how much we love each other and just how excited we were. We put so much work into putting together this whole opera, and then we were just floating in the air, looking down and being like, oh my God, look what we just created together." That's what a lifelong friendship looks like, folks. Two people who've known each other since they were toddlers, who became global stars together, who went through a very public falling out, and who came back together stronger than ever. Life after the simple life. Since the simple life ended, both women built full lives beyond the chaos. Paris is now a mother to Phoenix and London, runs a massive business empire, released her album Infinite Icon, and even has products at Walmart. Nicole launched House of Harlow, expanded into acting with shows like Great News, and is raising 2 kids of her own. Now, their children are growing up together, closing the circle. After the Encore, both hinted they're open to more, but made it clear this reunion wasn't forced. It happened because the timing finally felt right. And honestly, it shows. The third Musketeer returns. We need to talk about the third piece of this early 2000s puzzle, Lindsay Lohan. Remember that iconic photo from November 2006? Paris, Britney, and Lindsay all crammed into a car, looking like they owned Hollywood? That photo became legendary, representing an entire era of celebrity culture. For years, people wondered what happened to that trio. Did they stay friends? Did they drift apart? Were the tabloid feuds real? Well, Paris addressed this too during her Talk Shop Live event in August 2024. When asked about Lindsay, Paris lit up. She revealed that she and Lindsay recently reconnected at a Vanity Fair party, and it was beautiful. "It was so good to see her," Paris said. "She looks so beautiful. I'm so happy for her." Lindsay is now a mother herself, having welcomed son Louis with her husband, Bader Shamus. She's been living in Dubai and has successfully rebuilt her career and her life. Paris seemed genuinely thrilled about Lindsay's happiness and success. So while Paris and Lindsay might not have the same day-to-day friendship that Paris has with Britney or Nicole, There's clearly still love and mutual respect there. They've all grown up, become mothers, and understand each other in ways they couldn't back in their party girl days. Why these friendships matter. What makes Paris's friendships with Britney and Nicole hit different is that they survived everything Hollywood usually destroys: fame, tabloids, public feuds, growing up under a microscope, marriage, motherhood, and wildly different life paths. In an industry built on convenience and clout, these are real, decades-long relationships. Paris shows up. She supports Britney privately, lets her spend time with her kids, and defends her when it counts. With Nicole, she turns a ridiculous inside joke from 20 years ago into an opera. That's history, not branding. All three women were trashed by the media in the 2000s, dismissed as shallow party girls. Now, look at them. Paris is a businesswoman and advocate. Britney reclaimed her freedom. Nicole built an empire. They proved everyone wrong, together and still standing. The bottom line: real friendships don't fold just because fame gets loud. Paris and Britney are still sister-level close. Paris and Nicole are basically the same kids they were at 2, just richer. And yes, even Lindsay is back in the mix with no drama attached. Paris shows up when it counts. Not for paparazzi moments or headlines. She lets Britney hang with her kids. She spends months making an unhinged opera with Nicole. She roots for people quietly, without needing credit. In a world full of fake friendships and PR besties, Paris actually has receipts. These relationships have history, mess, distance, growth, and real affection. They defined an era, survived the chaos, and somehow stayed connected. That's the story. Just 3 women who went through hell in public and still chose each other. And honestly, that's kind of iconic. If you loved learning about Paris's iconic friendships, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. These women have given us so much entertainment, drama, and inspiration over the years, and something tells me there's more to come. Will we see more Paris and Nicole projects? Will Britney join them for a reunion special? Only time will tell. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Which friendship means more to you, Paris and Britney, or Paris and Nicole? And while you're at it, check out our other videos about early 2000s pop culture. Trust me, you're going to want to take that trip down memory lane. See you in the next one.